So hey, you're the new kid. Just hear me out. I really need to get something off my chest. Teenagers beating each other up and manhwa go together like bacon and eggs, and one man especially knows exactly how to make those. Taejun Park, also known as PTJ, is an ex-model, writer, and an artist behind a couple of works you might have heard of. Lookism, My Life as a Loner, Show Me the Lucky-chan, Hanamdong K-House, The Real Anti-Smoking Campaign, Our Class Idol, and the topic of today's video, Viral Hit, also known as How to Fight, was the first PTJ comic I got into. It was recommended to me by a friend who tried to get me into the PTJ verse. Yes, most of these are connected. It had an amazing season 1 and a painfully disappointing season 2, as well as a mid-anime adaptation that I'll include the clips from just to save time on the editing, but the video is focused just on the manhwa. First, I'm going to lay the groundwork and set up what made season 1 great, so you can get a better idea of what went wrong. Well, let's dive into it. The premise is incredibly simple. Hobinyu is a high schooler at the bottom of the food chain, constantly getting bullied primarily by Pago, a rising YouTube streamer. Things aren't much better outside of the school, as he works multiple part-time jobs to pay for his mother's hospital bills. One day, Pago's cameraman, Snapper, decided to stay over at Hobin's place in hopes of becoming a streamer himself. While bringing him ramen, Hobin trips over the cord and disconnects the monitor. Thinking the entire PC is disconnected, Snapper lashes out at Hobin, who at this point had enough of all of it.
This is my own private domicile and I will not be harassed, bitch!
And stands up for himself. However, as I've previously said, only the monitor got turned off, and their frankly pathetic squabble ended up going viral on YouTube, giving Hobin an opportunity to make it big as a streamer and earn the big bucks. He teams up with Snapper and they officially form Viral Hit YouTube channel, which focuses on Hobin challenging and fighting delinquents above his pay grade. And in order to not get his teeth kicked in, he follows a tutorial series from a no-subscriber YouTuber with a chicken mask called Samdak, who teaches him how to fight. That's the abridged version of the story. Like I said, very straightforward. Scrawny loser against the world, but with a YouTube twist. So what's so special about this one amongst the ocean of high schooler beat-em-ups? The first thing that you'll immediately notice is that Hobin isn't this tall, good-looking Chad that's built like an absolute unit. In fact, he is the complete opposite. Looks aside, Hobin doesn't get some insane power which then he uses to turn his life around, or possesses knowledge of the future. He wasn't one of the top tiers in his past life, and through reincarnation or regression, he gets to do it all over again but better. Hobin is just, well, he kinda looks like a hobbit. Pair that with the idea that most of the people Hobin fights are athletically superior, have a height, reach, weight, and experience advantage, and you got yourself a David vs Goliath, but they're broadcasting it. And just like in David vs Goliath, the smaller guy can't exactly brute force his way to the victory. I've mentioned that Hobin watches tutorials to learn all his skills. Each one of the videos that Hobin learns from teaches him a different technique he can then incorporate in his fight style. More times than not, they're a perfect counter to the martial arts he's up against. But that still doesn't mean Hobin is invincible. Even knowing what he needs to do in order to win, Hobin will receive significant punishment. Let's just say thank God his YouTube channel worked out for him, because with the amount of hits to the head he took, I doubt university is a viable option. The tutorial videos themselves aren't worth much if Hobin doesn't actually do all the training mentioned in them. They don't magically transform you into a top tier fighter. It's just a guide, which you still have to follow to a T. But what about his personality? Is there anything beneath the skin and bones? Yes, actually. Hobin is a clout-hungry, money-starved goblin. He is so into money that he literally has money healing. If a person donates a large enough amount, he just heals. Kinda like another character which I've covered, wink wink nudge nudge. He is also insecure, shameless. A part of his old coward self is still there, and if things get too tough, he is more than ready to just give up everything he's worked for. Quite far from that shonen never give up mentality. But despite his flaws, Hobin is kind, extremely hardworking, and the reason behind his craziness for money is quite tragic. His mom is very sick, and to pay off her medical bills, Hobin was forced to mature early, working multiple part-time jobs every single day on top of his regular schoolwork. He never got to have a typical childhood. All of those things are what makes Hobin a compelling protagonist. There are parts of him in all of us, so it's easy to relate to some of his struggles, and yet he is established well enough to not appear as another self-insert MC devoid of personality. The sidecast of Viral Hit is basically the same. There are quirks, flaws, and past mistakes found in everyone. To summarize, Hobin at first glance doesn't have the looks of a main character. He doesn't get powers out of nowhere and has to work tirelessly in order to not get his ass handed to him. He is far from your typical clean pretty boy protagonist, while also not being the mysterious edgelord lone wolf protagonist. He's good-natured, but still very flawed, and the supporting cast is the same. So what went wrong? I'm singing all these praises and yet the title is pretty negative. Well, let's break it down. One of the things I personally liked about Viral Hit Season 1 was the variety of enemies. It forced Hobin to learn and adapt, as fighting a wrestler isn't the same as fighting a Taekwondo practitioner. Hobin would face anything from a copycat Viral Hook to this specimen who doesn't know what consent means. Meanwhile, in Season 2 we have a gangster, and oh look at that, a gangster. I can only eat vanilla so many times before I start yearning for chocolate. But fine, you gotta up the stakes somehow, so whatever. And while repetitive, this wasn't the main problem with Season 2. The main issue that I have with it is the change in structure. Season 1 has an antagonist per arc, meaning there is no definitive big bad that Hobin has to work towards. Hobin's main goal, after all, is to make money with his YouTube channel, by calling out and challenging all kinds of delinquents. Season 2, however, changes that. At the end of Season 1, Hobin faces his final opponent of the season, Jinho Lee, a gangster who sees everyone around him as an animal and only himself as a human, quite literally. After being defeated by Hobin, he is taken by the police, and that's that. Or is it? Jinho manages to escape from the cop car and now becomes our final boss of the story. The immediate issue I, as well as others, have with this is that Hobin already defeated Jinho, meaning our main antagonist for an entire season poses much less of a threat, since we've already seen the protagonist beat him once. But an antagonist can still be a threat even after it's defeated, given that they actually decide to improve and grow either physically or mentally. And how do you think Jinho would feel after being defeated by someone he considers lesser than himself? After all, in his eyes, he just lost to a dumb animal. I am here to unfortunately inform you that nothing changed. He makes an excuse that he was only defeated because he was thinking too much during the fight. And now that he stopped thinking and let his instincts take over, he is unstoppable. For the first time he experienced defeat, and not from someone he'd consider a human. His entire worldview should be shaken by this. How did nothing come from that defeat? It would actually be interesting if Jinho had to change his mindset and work on himself to acknowledge he lacks something. Just spitballing here, but you could have made it that now he starts seeing himself as an animal, and that completely fucks with him. Now, more desperate than ever, he forced himself to evolve, in a sense to turn back into a human. But no, I guess lobotomy was the answer. Just turn off your brain, bro. The last point I'll touch on when it comes to Jinho is how he almost wins at the end of Season 2. Jinho's goal throughout the series is to put his politician in the role of a mayor of Seoul. In order to do that, he runs a lot of illegal businesses because they need a lot of money, all of which get destroyed by Hobin and his friends. So obviously, now that the businesses are down, the politician still becomes the mayor. I assume it was done in order to create stakes for the final battle, and it's hard to beat Seoul falling into the wrong hands. But it was done so abruptly, and you're under the impression that the good guys are doing a pretty good job in ruining Jinho's plans. But I'll drop my hate boner for Jinho and put the focus on another issue. At the end of Season 1, Hobin bulked up, becoming a different animal, and the same beast, and overcame his main weakness, which is a problem when the entire series banks on him being the eternal underdog. Solution that Season 2 came up with: secondary protagonist. When I was on my first read, I got flashbacks from The Breaker Season 3. This is Uno Kang, son of an investigator which Jinho murdered. His mother passed away from an illness, and his sister is missing, most likely dead, also by Jinho. Being a small, skinny, and bullied kid, he found Hobin's videos on YouTube inspirational, and wanted Hobin to take him under his wing so that he can exact revenge on Jinho. Pretty simple stuff. However, due to backlash from especially Korean fans, Uno was quickly sidelined in order to make Hobin the sole protagonist, which, as you can imagine, is a pretty big issue, since the whole deal behind Uno's character was taking Jinho down. Sidelining him from the only thing he was created for means you have a pointless character, who takes up space and screen time. They tried to give him something to do by introducing a new YouTube channel, but honestly that didn't go anywhere. On one side, I understand reasoning behind creating a new underdog character, but on the other, I also understand fan dislike. You subscribe to a manhwa where Hobin Yu is the protagonist, and instead you're getting a new character who is exactly like early Hobin, so it feels like we're just repeating everything. One more new character who was completely wasted was Su Hexo. From the very start, he he was a character who was very cold and off-putting. From the way Hoben and him interacted, you'd think he would become Hoben's foil, but all he amounted to was being Jinho's lapdog. Now, sure, the new characters aren't the greatest, but we still have characters from last season to lean on, right? Unfortunately, the majority of old characters don't do anything. They either remain the same, fade into the background, or disappear for the majority of the season. Now, I'm aware I made it seem like the worst thing on the planet, but it's really not. I'm just focusing on the negatives. Season 2 still had some great character moments, especially involving Van Gogh Han, an ex-antagonist now turned good guy, hype moments and decent fight choreography. Frankly, the only reason why I'm being so harsh is because I really enjoyed Season 1. I still have a very soft spot for Viral Hit, as friend who got me into it and I have gotten closer because of it. Now, to sum up my opinion on Season 2, it's not necessarily bad as much as it is disappointing. Hey, new kid, thanks for hearing me out. Listen, if you'd leave a like and subscribe, I'd appreciate a ton. Oh, and if you have any recommendations, manhwa, manga, anime, whatever, just write it down below. I'll personally shout out Galaxies, which is recommended to me by Upelistic. Now I gotta go before the jock comes back and throws my helmet into the toilet again. I'll see ya whenever I see ya.